All morning long, we've been talking about Nvidia crossing that $4 trillion mark, just a tick below last time we checked, but still very close to $4 trillion. That march happened pretty fast from 3 to 4. What does that signal about AI and the AI trade here in the U.S.?
We're seeing a number of signals, Frank. First of all, TSMC just released earnings about 20 minutes ago, and they had about a 39% increase in their revenue, and so they beat all their numbers. Another indicator of the strength of this AI market. You're seeing demand from the big players and also from sovereigns and others for these kinds of chips. My prediction is that Nvidia and Microsoft will cross the $5 trillion mark, Frank, in the next 12, 18 months. I see no impediment to that happening. If we're in the current geopolitical general framework, I think we can easily see $5 trillion for those two companies. With TSMC's rise now, they now just joined the $1 trillion club. They're just at that hovering point of $1 trillion market cap. And that means there's now 10 different companies in the world today worth $1 trillion or more. So it's really exciting, Frank, to see all this movement.
Jack, I don't know if we ever asked you this. Are you an Nvidia customer? Do you buy their chips? And I was actually talking to Dan Ives from Wedbush yesterday. He says there's basically 10-to-1 demand. There's 10 customers that want a chip for every chip that's actually available.
We're very fortunate, Frank, in that we're a special Nvidia partner. Just spent time with Jensen yesterday, and we use the DGX Cloud. DGX Cloud is the way to use Nvidia chips that are the latest chips. As you know, right now, there's Hoppers out there, but there's also Blackwells, and now upcoming will be the Vera Rubin chip. And so the way to access the latest and greatest from NVIDIA is the DGX Cloud, and we're fortunate to be a partner. And in fact, Frank, we just announced with NVIDIA 10 days ago, the initial results of that partnership is the largest data set for the biopharma world, 5 million plus molecules that we characterize using our SandboxAQ software on NVIDIA DGX hardware. That's a breakthrough, Frank, for the biopharma world, developing drugs for cancer, Alzheimer's, other major diseases.
Jack, you're bearing the lead on us. You were with Jensen Huang yesterday. What were you guys doing? Were you popping champagne, wearing leather jackets? Don't even answer. I want to get to some more important stuff for investors. Yesterday, we had Chris Heisey from Bank of America Merrill Private Bank. Here's what he said about the AI trade. I want to get your response.
We're on the verge of one of the greatest capex booms we've ever had, at least in the last 5 or 6 decades, and everything infrastructure around that, robotics, automation, generative artificial intelligence, data center buildouts, all of that is starting to begin to accelerate.
All right, so I want to get your take. We're just talking about what a lot of people call, and I believe Jensen Huang calls, physical AI. Let's get beyond NVIDIA right now. Who are the other winners of this capex cycle, if you agree with what he has to say?
Sure. Let's talk Mag 7. Let's talk the rest of the economy. Then let's talk power and the power needed for this AI revolution. So Mag 7 right now, Frank, represents 34% market cap wise of the S&P 500. Mag 7, 34% of the S&P 500. But Mag 7, Magnificent 7, only represent 11% of the GDP of the United States. And so what that means is that there's 89% of the GDP out there that are lagging behind, both in the market cap rise that the analyst was just talking about and in adoption of AI. What you see in the Magnificent 7 is that AI is core to their business. It's driving their core revenues. And so companies like Microsoft, Google, and others, NVIDIA, it's driving the core business. For the rest of the economy, if you're a pharma company, if you're others, large language models, helpful. You can reduce some costs in customer service. But the core business of making a new drug, the core business of being an energy company, the core business of making an automotive product, if you're GM or Ford, that is not really being impacted by large language models. Of course, quantitative AI, the next wave of AI, is the key to that. So what we're seeing is a divergence. My prediction, Frank, on this show here is that we're going to see the percentage of market cap that Mag 7 represents going from 34% to 40% before the rest of the economy catches up.
That's a pretty bold prediction, Jack. Before we let you go, we're almost out of time. I want to talk about your business. What do you have going on in the second half of the year, whether it's in the AI space or the quantum space?
Well, there's a number of different areas that we're focused on. First of all, SAIR, this new data set that we released with Nvidia, is the first of a number of data sets that we'll be coming out with using our quantitative AI, or LQMs, large quantitative models that allow us to produce high-quality data sets and models that hit the core of developing drugs, developing new materials, all kinds of applications, including, of course, AQ nav as well, navigating a plane in the face of no GPS. So a wide variety of quantitative applications. And we're also looking in the cyber realm now. AI and cyber, Frank, look for that to be a key trend for the second half of the year. As more attacks happen and enterprises need to defend themselves, the hackers are using AI. We also need to use AI to do so.
Nvidia at $4 trillion. The AI trade just got real. Nvidia's market cap is knocking on the door of $4 trillion, and according to Jack Hidari, CEO of SandboxAQ, this is just the beginning. Speaking on CNBC's halftime report, Hidari says the surge from $3 trillion to $4 trillion didn't just happen in isolation. It reflects a much deeper force, the AI supercycle. He points to TSMC's latest earnings, a 39% revenue jump, as a clear sign that demand for advanced AI chips isn't slowing down. And it's not just tech giants buying them. Sovereign governments and entire sectors are pushing supply to the edge. Hidari even predicted that both Nvidia and Microsoft will hit $5 trillion in market cap within 12 to 18 months, assuming geopolitical stability holds. And he's not just talking as an observer. SandboxAQ is a key Nvidia partner, already working with the company's latest chips through DGX Cloud, including Hopper, Blackwell, and the upcoming Vera Rubin. Just 10 days ago, they jointly announced a breakthrough, the largest biopharma dataset ever, using over 5 million molecules to accelerate drug discovery for diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. But this AI story goes beyond just Nvidia. Hidari highlights the CapEx boom, a massive infrastructure wave that includes robotics, automation, generative AI, and data center buildouts. He points out that the Magnificent Seven now make up 34% of the S&P 500's market cap, but only 11% of U.S. GDP. That disconnect signals how far the rest of the economy has to go to catch up. His bold call? The Magnificent Seven's share of market cap could rise to 40% before the broader economy begins to adopt AI at scale. In the second half of the year, SandboxAQ plans to roll out more large quantitative datasets, not just for healthcare, but for material science and cybersecurity too. Hidari says AI plus cyber defense is going to be a major theme in the coming months as attack vectors grow. So while Nvidia is the face of the AI trade, it's what's happening behind the scenes across pharma, quantum, and cybersecurity.
This, he said it was going to hit $4 trillion. Yeah. He's right. I literally just got another note from Dan in my inbox just now. Dan Ives of Wedbush. You know him. You get his notes as well, calling out. He says Microsoft is going to be next. But before we can't move on to Microsoft without acknowledging this big move by Nvidia, that $4 trillion.
And I have to use this opportunity to correct myself when I said yesterday that they've joined the $4 trillion club. I mean, it's a club of one.
Yes.
I mean, that's still going to be a club, I suppose.
Yes.
But let's see who else joins the club, according to Dan Ives, as you mentioned. But yeah, I mean, making history and just such a stunning run, I suppose, because, I remember sitting in Asia at the beginning of the year and everyone was so rattled by DeepSeek.
Yes.
And, that was putting into question the whole CapEx narrative as well. So now we've obviously seen Goldman Sachs, a buy rating 185, price target citing strong growth potential. I mean, obviously, that's what's got it to this point. I was listening to also a fascinating conversation as well this morning about the fact that companies right now who are using NVIDIA chips are not willing to sort of take the chance on other hardware because they are wanting to stick with what is proven to work. Yeah. So the other part of this story, obviously, is NVIDIA's adaptability. I mean, you and I were speaking about this over the last week or so as well. I mean, how they've managed to obviously circumvent some of those export controls with continuing to come out with China-specific chips because, of course, the importance of that market to a company like NVIDIA and the fact that they have had to adapt to obviously maintain that market share. But, obviously they have a bit of a challenge in China where, Huawei is obviously giving Nvidia a little bit of a run for their money too. But the Chinese still want to get their hands on these Nvidia chips.
They do. And they, again, they had a workaround previously. We'll see what it looks like in the future.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much for that.
Can I leave you with a Kenny Pulkari tidbit?
Go right ahead.
Come on, we have to mention this. Nvidia is now worth more than every public traded company in Germany.
Oh, wow. That's so Kenny. Kenny, I know, I love his notes because he always finishes off with a recipe as well. And he goes that you can say thank you to Nvidia, which rallied hard, as we know. Thank you. Our thanks to Sam Vadas, Schwab Network contributor, for the deep dive into.
Nvidia just became the only company in the $4 trillion club. And it's not hype, it's execution. Analysts like Dan Ives nailed this move early, and now he's betting Microsoft is next. But what really stands out is loyalty. Companies using Nvidia chips aren't even considering switching. They want what works, and Nvidia delivers. Even with US export controls, Nvidia adapted fast, building custom chips just for China to keep its hold on that massive market. And while Huawei is trying to compete, demand for Nvidia remains red hot. Here's the kicker. Nvidia is now worth more than every public company in Germany combined. That's not just a stock story. It's a global shift in power, driven by AI, trust, and sheer dominance.